Good evening, everyone. Whether you're here live or joining us at home, welcome to the 2015 United Educators of Pittsfield Mayoral Debate and Forum. I'm Brendan Sheran, president of the UEP, our city's teachers union. I teach social studies here at Pittsfield High. I'm a lifelong resident of Pittsfield, a parent, and also a taxpayer. Education is important. A strong public school system is essential to lifting our poorest children from poverty and providing opportunities for all students to find their unique path to success in a rapidly changing world. I want to extend a big thank you to the candidates, Bianchi and Linda Tyer, for joining us for tonight's conversation focused specifically on education. The candidates have been provided a list of questions in advance, compiled and refined from our local educators. Also, we have one question developed by the PHS AP Government and Politics class. As we move through the debate, each candidate will have an opportunity for a minute and a half to respond to a question and approximately 30 to 45 seconds to respond to the other candidates' remarks if they choose. So to summarize, each candidate will have about a minute and a half, and then if they want to respond to those comments from the opposing candidate, they'll have about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to do so. We encourage those in attendance to use our debate rubric to rate the candidate's performance. And if you use that, please drop it off on your way out. We'd love to know what you think about the event tonight. We're going to begin tonight with a 2-minute introduction for each candidate focused on the following question and their views for education in Pittsfield. So the question is as follows. What is your vision for public education in our city? And how will your leadership help make this vision a reality? Linda, I'd like to offer you the first opportunity.
Thank you, Brendan. It's a privilege to be here this evening to talk with all of you about the importance of public education in our city. I want to begin by telling you a little bit about my experience in public education. You know, I grew up living and traveling all over the world. I'm the daughter of an American military family, and so my education was broad and diverse. And in fact, in my 6th grade year, I attended 3 different schools. I started school in Missouri, went through a few months of school in Lenoxdale, living with my grandmother, and then my family and I moved to Greece, and I finished the 3rd half of my 6th grade year living in Greece and attended middle school in Europe. So that experience has informed me quite a bit in terms of what I believe is important for public education and for kids in school. One of the things that I don't have experience in is having starting in kindergarten and going through elementary school and middle school and high school in one community. I don't have a memory of who my kindergarten teacher is, but at the same time I have a memory of living in Greece and learning to speak Greek and understanding and appreciating diverse life experiences. Now, in the vision and the dream that I would have for our city in terms of public education is a place where every child succeeds from their first learning experience in kindergarten until they graduate from high school, where education is well-rounded rather than driven by test results, where every teacher feels supported in their classroom so that they have the courage to take a risk with a new idea for teaching, where parents believe in the quality of our public schools and don't opt out to another district or choose a charter school. Our schools need to take bold steps to begin addressing the growing challenges of our modern city. A school community that celebrates diversity, engages in art, music, and theater, where every student has access to extracurricular activities regardless of their economic status. In our public schools, we will be vibrant, compassionate, and innovative places of learning. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. Dan?
Brendan, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the UEP for hosting tonight's forum. Now, my commitment to education, I think, speaks for itself. I have a record, and I'm a proud parent, but I'm also a proud member of the school committee. And I'm proud of the work that I've done to move our schools forward and feel privileged to be able to work in a school system with so many talented teachers. But some of my specific efforts include the advancement of the state-of-the-art Taconic High School with 21st century vocational programming, creating local partners who will be the future employers for so many of our graduates. I spent capital dollars wisely for upgrading, for example, the auditorium here, which will be underway shortly, but also for developing a new gymnasium hardwood floor and new bleachers so that people who come to enjoy volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading can do it safely and enjoyably. And then I believe in creating improvements for all schools, new flooring for our community schools, and other improvements as well. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to help with the millions of federal grant dollars for 21st century improvement programs and programming in not just our middle schools, but all of our elementary schools as well. And I'm proud to have participated and encouraged and funded a vocational 1 week on, 1 week off programming for vocational students in the 11th and 12th grades. This has created a meaningful internship experience for those students. It will enrich their lives, and it will enrich the employers who will employ them in the future. But additionally, I'm very proud of the fact that we have been able to put together 2 3-year teachers' contracts. This allows students and teachers to avoid the work to rule and to put the pressure on take the pressure off teachers and allow them to do what they do best, and that's to teach. And I'm very committed to meaningful negotiations with all of the other units. But one of my favorite roles is working closely with the superintendent of schools and the school committee to develop high standards and educational proficiency programs for all children. And we have to do this wisely. We cannot make promises that we cannot keep, funding all sorts of programs that will take away from our educational system.
Thank you, Dan. All right, so our first question of the debate, we're going to start off with you, Dan. Our schools are increasingly more diverse economically, racially, and culturally. How would you help to make this one of our strengths as a community?
Yeah.
And as I stated in the beginning part, we're going to go about 1.5 minutes each person, and then about 30 seconds to follow up from the other candidates' comments.
Well, it's a real challenge, and I know that 60% of our students now are on reduced or free lunch, which would indicate that we have an increasing population of lower-income families, and that's a real concern for me. The diversity issue with regards to a changing population, we want the workforce to really be reflective, and we want the teacher population to be reflective of our students. I heard from the head of the NAACP about a terrific young college graduate, a teacher, and she had gone through the student teaching program, and then she was not allowed a job because she didn't have enough experience. I found that very troubling. I got together with the then new superintendent of schools, the head of the NAACP, and also several other community members. And I said, this is a spectacular woman. Why don't we give her a chance? And the superintendent said, well, we should study it. And I said, no, let's put her in the classroom. She's doing terrifically now, her second year. And that's what we have to do. I've also encouraged and funded and helped to fund a person to come in and mentor our young students, but also to work with our staff to increase diversity in our school system. I've accepted the school improvement program and just recently, and that program prioritizes just what you've asked for, and that is studying ways to increase diversity in our workforce at all levels.
Thank you. Linda?
Well, thank you. What I appreciate so much about this question is the way that you phrased it by referring to our economic, racially, and culturally diverse community as a strength. It's a strength to have this unique fabric of community in our schools. And I often think about going back to my roots when I was a candidate for Women Helping Empower Neighborhoods. And the goal of that organization was to advance diversity and minorities in government. And I really believe strongly in that principle still today. And we need to begin working to advance diversity within our school community. So there are a variety of programs that we can use to help us advance, and I would encourage us to examine the multicultural bridge programs that include opportunities for parents and teacher training. There's a youth diversity leadership program that we could bring to our students. And I think we should have facilitated conversations about this growing, changing dynamic in our community. An aspect of high-risk behavior that we seem to be having an increase of in our community is certainly linked to students feeling disconnected from their community. And so bringing that connection back through a variety of places, the community as well as the schools, is an important aspect of supporting these diverse students.
Dan, would you like to follow up at all?
Sure, sure. And we do have the Multicultural Bridge Program has been very much involved with both teachers but administrators throughout the school system, and we've even used them for the department heads in the city of Pittsfield. But I don't really think that kids feel disengaged with their community. I think that we have to offer stimulating programs. We have to really mentor these children to let them understand that there is an opportunity and there is an enrichment for their lives in education. But I don't think for a minute that they feel necessarily disengaged with the community.
Linda, any thoughts to the comments you just heard?
Well, you know, I disagree with that point. I think that when a student feels disconnected from either their neighborhood or their community or their school, it exposes them and makes them vulnerable to the increasing gang activity that we're seeing in our community. Kids want to be connected to something, and when they don't feel connected to their neighborhood, their community, or their school, they will find a connection somewhere, in many ways, in dangerous ways.
Moving on to our next question. We are continually serving a population of students with greater needs and less resources. For example, in recent years, programs that service high-needs students have been eliminated. The Teen Parent Program, the Parent-Child Home Program, and the Alternative School are examples of this ongoing trend. What kind of programs do you find important to maintain or to create to support children as they enter school and progress through? Linda, we'll start with you for that one.
Thank you. It's a great question. I feel like these are great opportunities within our city to take some bold moves. You know, everything begins with compassion for students, as some of them have higher mountains to climb in order to be academically successful. And so the goal should always be, how do we provide opportunities for every student to succeed academically? One of the things that I've talked a lot about during the course of this campaign is expanding access to early education for 3- and 4-year-olds. And that has been, it has been suggested that I am going to raise taxes to provide this expanded access, and that I'm planning a program that we can't pay for. Well, I think that we can advocate with the state legislature and our state delegation to support legislation that will provide funds and grants and programming for early education and care of our 3-year-olds. Currently, there is legislation being proposed that's available to gateway cities, such as Pittsfield, who have some school communities, elementary schools, that are not performing as well as they should be on their NCAS exams. And we have an opportunity to partner with the state to provide this expanded access to 3- and 4-year-olds so that they get a head start on their learning. You know, this program is good for kids, and it's also good for families. It gives kids a head start on being ready to learn when they arrive in kindergarten, and it gives parents a chance to seek employment or expand their work hours so they can improve the economic prosperity of their own families. So that's an important initiative that I would like to pursue.
Thank you. Dan?
Well, we have had to make tough decisions, and we have eliminated certain programs. But I think we're doing a really good job, and we have to continue to do that with collaboration and partnerships with the great organizations that work out in our community. For example, the United Way is committing efforts for teen pregnancy. And over the last couple of years, teen pregnancy has actually dropped by 50%. And when you can almost eliminate teen pregnancy, I think that that's going to eliminate many of the problems associated with young families. But we have a parent-child program that we had to eliminate, but we partnered with a great organization called Berkshire Families and Children, and they do a tremendous job going into the homes and helping with these young families. So that's a partnership that's working. The Alternative School, unfortunately, we had to eliminate that for funding purposes, but we've partnered with the Berkshire County Sheriff's Department. We've created a student resource center, and I think those kids are getting a tremendous option for education. I had 3 of them in my office this week, and they were just terrific. There are 22 licensed preschool programs here in the city of Pittsfield. We've got to do a better way of encouraging families. Of the 880 students who are not in a, and those are students from 3 to 5 who are not in a preschool program, to take advantage of that. But we also have to work with agencies that are involved with literacy programs. And I know there's a new initiative to work with pediatricians to encourage them to encourage young families, and all families with young children, new children, to become involved with literacy, so that they will leave not only with a car seat, but they'll leave with a book and a program for teaching their children from the very beginning the importance of literacy programs. So I think it's really important, and we are in a unique position because we're such a small community, and we're a community that is very, very close. We go to school together, we go to church together, and we can work on these problems and collaborate in ways that I think other places can't.
Linda, response?
Yes, thank you. You know, when we do things like eliminate teen parent programs or eliminate alternative education, we put at further risk, those students who now have no sort of alternative to their special academic needs. And it, I believe, will likely increase the likelihood that they will drop out of school because they can't manage their life circumstances and their academic programs as well. I think it might be worth looking at replicating a successful program that exists in the city of Boston, the Boston Day and Evening Academy, which is part of the public school program, and it's flexible in the way that it offers academics so that kids who are in these challenged life situations can attend school in a format that works for them and for their lives. And I think that there's an opportunity there for us to be better stewards of our students who have these challenges.
Dan, final comments?
That's exactly what we do with the alternative education programs at our Student Resource Center now. We are structuring a program for them that is designed really to help them because everybody doesn't learn the same way. So that's where we are incredibly effective. You know, and as far as the early childhood education programs that my opponent has talked about, you know, those are really expensive programs, somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.5 million. There has been advocacy, and I talked to the student or the Senate president, but I've also talked with the governor about these. And that is really an effort that's going to have to be driven from the federal government. That's not to say that we shouldn't advocate, but we can't wait for that to happen. And we've got so many wonderful programs and wonderful partners that can help us to get to where we need to be.
All right, so we're going to start the next question with Mayor Bianchi.
Okay.
And I'm going to slightly modify this one because it's on everybody's minds. Our question we offered both candidates was, how would you address both the drug problem and mental health issues within our community, specifically as it relates to schools? I would like you to add in something about school safety to that if you could. Yeah. So the drug problem, school safety, and mental health issues.
Okay, I'm going to start with the school safety, and I know that that's on everyone's mind. And you know, I'm going to propose that we reevaluate our system there. The Assistant Superintendent of Schools has said, and this is not Mr. Curtis, but our previous Assistant Superintendent, who had been on a national task force for safety and security, said that our protocols and our systems were as good as any that she had seen. But I think we've got to do better, especially in light of you know, the growing issues. So I'm going to propose that we do that. You know, and certainly if it means capital dollars for enhanced security, we'll do that. We've done quite a bit of it. But I also know that teachers work every day with families, especially with families where children are on medications or are in jeopardy of being involved in drugs. And they have a number of tools at their disposal. Not that we should be asking teachers to do any more work than they already have to do, but we know that they have many tools that they offer to parents, and they reach out to them, and I'm proud of them for doing that. Now, on a personal level, I established 3 community centers, and one of them, for example, has 60 or 50 units, 46 of which are with single-family moms. Instead of you know, doing nothing and offering just insubstantial programs, we have done health screenings there. We have done a number of different intervention programs, and we started a mentoring program to really reach out to those kids who are at the greatest risk of falling between the cracks, taking a wrong turn, getting involved in drugs and gangs, and that's really working. And once again, I think it's because we have a wonderful, caring community that we've had over 100 volunteers step up to the plate. 40 of them have been trained, and now they're working with many of the kids, not just there, but across the city. So we have to do a better job and really connect with folks and connect with kids and create those kind of educational experiences and alternative experiences for those kids.
Linda?
Well, you know, this issue of crime and gangs and guns and violence is certainly weighing on the minds of everyone who lives here in our community. And the parents of the kids at Herberg Middle School were shocked to learn that their children were at risk on a school day when a loaded handgun was found in a locker. And this is not the first time that guns have been found in our schools. This is a very serious issue, and it requires urgent, immediate action to keep our students safe. And it cannot be dismissed. You know, one of the parents that I spoke to from Herberg Middle School who was highly concerned about what had happened said that she doesn't want to have to rely on the courage of another child to keep her child safe. We can't expect kids and teachers to constantly be on alert because they're in an academic environment and their first priority is to teach and learn. So we need to look at strategies that involve both the administration and law enforcement, and let's take a look at schools who have had these threats in the past. What are they doing to keep their schools safe? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can replicate things that may be existing in other districts. The question also asks, shall I continue, Brendan, about drugs and mental health issues, or?
Yeah, I gave Dan about an extra 30 seconds, so I'll give you about an extra 30 seconds, then we'll go over to him.
Certainly, the challenge of drug addiction and the challenge of mental health issues is definitely putting additional pressure on our school community. I am not an expert in drug addiction. I'm not an expert in mental health issues. There are resources within our community that do provide important services. We also cannot put added pressure on our teachers to also be experts in drug addiction, experts in mental health issues. It's important that we bring those agencies that provide these important social services right into our schools so that kids can have easy access to important programs. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, follow-up?
Sure. We do a tremendous job partnering with the OBrien Center. It's one of the largest employers, but it's also one of the largest counseling services in the city and in the county. And I know that our teachers and our school adjustment counselors work very closely with them. It's important that we continue to do that. One of the hard decisions we had to make was making adjustments in the school budget. And we did so, and we added 4 school adjustment counselors because we have recognized the challenges of drugs and mental issues that are just beyond the capacity of the classroom teacher in many cases. So that's why we've made that additional investment, but we have to monitor how are we doing and whether or not we should be making further adjustments in the future. But I think those 4 additional adjustment counselors were as a direct result of a recognition of a need for greater intervention.
Final comments, Linda?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
You're all set? Okay, great. So, Linda, the next one will be for you. What will you do to help retain and attract students to the Pittsfield Public Schools? And in addition, how will you attract and retain teachers to those same schools?
Well, this has been a perennial challenge for the city of Pittsfield. We seem to be always losing students to school choice, and we're always, at risk of the threat of a charter school being located here in our city. And there's things that we can do as a community to improve our image. And one of the things that I think would be an important new opportunity is to work with the Chamber of Commerce and local realtors so that they can correct some of the mistaken impressions that they're giving people when they come into our community to look at buying a home, and give them specific information about the successes of our school district and the good programming, academic programmings that we offer here, and all the wide variety of extracurricular activities, and give families an opportunity to visit our schools and see how lively and engaged everyone is. I also think that there's opportunities to create some very unique programs that would make our school unique in the county. And one of the things that is supported by the state's Department of Early Education and Secondary Education is the implementation of the what's called the International Baccalaureate Program. This is a rigorous academic program that really challenges students in a way where they are doing more thinking and more writing, and it's an opportunity for teachers who want to expand how they teach and be more creative and more flexible in the way they deliver their academics. We are trapped often by this framework of testing, which prevents teachers from being creative. But if we provide a unique program for teachers and students, I think that will also give us an opportunity to bring students from other communities to choice in and keep students here in our school if we give them unique opportunities.
Dan, how would you keep students here, bring students here, and also attract and retain teachers?
Okay, I'm going to start with teachers. And one of the things that I saw that I thought was incredibly punishing was these string of one-year contracts, you know, putting teachers, forcing them to implement a work for rule. It punishes everyone. So one of the things that I pledged when I first was elected, that we would eliminate that. And I saw personally how that was hurtful to kids and to teachers. So it was my vow that we would have 3-year teacher contracts so teachers could go and do what they do best and teach. I also believe that, and now we've been cited as one of the top 10 places in America for teaching, and one of the reasons being is because of our diversity and because of our attention to teacher needs. I also believe that new vocational and comprehensive high school with vocational programming is going to be a real home run for us. And one of the reasons why I voted to hire Dr. McCandless is because of his experience with other school districts surrounding the city of Pittsfield. He said to me that he was convinced that there are families in Lee and Lenox and also in the surrounding areas at Wacona High School and Dalton that would come to a vocational program that's well designed in a new school. So I'm very confident that that is going to help. We have to encourage professional development for our teachers. We have to hire the best teachers, whether it's an English teacher or a vocational teacher. And we have to pursue the Mass Insights program that has expanded our AP offerings. I had one parent come up and shake my hand at an event and say, my son's at Boston University. He's only going to have to be there for 3 years because he took so many AP courses. We've got to expand our AP offering, and we are going to attract college prep students from around the area as well, and we're going to encourage kids who would never think to take an AP course to do so. It's going to do two things. It's going to give them credits for college, but it's also going to boost their confidence to maybe go on to college. And they are some kids who are from families who need a pathway to the middle class and probably never thought they could get there.
Linda, more on that or comments back to Dan?
Thank you. I guess, you know, I believe in Taconic High School and the new vocational educational programs that are going to be offered in our new vocational school. That's why I believed in it from the beginning. I voted in favor of the statement of interest. My opponent did not believe in it from the beginning. He voted against the statement of interest. That if we had not had a majority vote, we wouldn't be here today excited about a new Taconic High School. Now, the Taconic High School is being built in a way that will encourage families from other communities to send their kids here. There's an additional financial benefit to the community if we can recruit kids from other cities and towns that are in the Berkshires. But until we solve the crime issue that we are facing, until families believe that our schools are safe, we will never be able to recruit a new family to come here. And so the first thing we have to do is make people believe that our city is safe and our schools are safe. Thank you, Brendan.
30 seconds, Max, or anything else? Or
there absolutely is something,
okay.
And I'm glad I'm going to be able to comment here. The statement of interest, and I voted against it. You know why I voted against it? Because Jim Roberto totally disregarded the Conti School, Crosby, and the Morningside Community School. 3 schools that desperately needed renovations, and there was no discussion whatsoever. I fought for that. I pledged that I would fight for it, And before I became mayor, the school committee finally did submit a statement of interest. It wasn't a disregard for Taconic High School at all. It was a fight for those 3 schools that desperately needed renovations.
Okay, I'm sure we'll get back to that topic a little bit later in the debate, certainly. Next question. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who I asked the last one to. Linda, I started with you, right?
Yes, you did.
Excellent. Okay, long day teaching all day here. So Dan, next question is going to go to you.
Okay.
How would you ensure equity across our district in terms of class size? Class size is a big issue for teachers in specific schools. Some schools have class sizes of elementary about 24. Others have about 15. Similar grades, similar kids.
I know.
How would you address that?
It's, that is a very difficult question, and I know we wrestled with it when we saw that the school population in Egremont was growing. So that's why I supported a dean of students for that school, and I think Egremont is, certainly benefiting from that decision. But I have to tell you, that is something that we wrestle with as a school committee. And one of the things here's where I certainly default and trust the judgment and the good work of our administration to manage those class sizes and to come up with solutions. And we work at that all the time. There may have to be some adjustments at other schools. There may have to be an increase in resources if we have one school growing as quickly as another. But I really look to Dr. McCandless and I look to Joe Curtis, and I know that that is something that's on their radar, and I am going to be looking for recommendations from them to make the kinds of adjustments, because we shouldn't have these oversized classrooms.
Linda?
Thank you. I know that class size is a constant challenge, especially in an urban community like ours. And, a lot of factors go into determining, especially at the elementary school level, how big the class will be. It's based upon whether or not there's students with special education needs or students with behavioral issues, and how do you balance that out with students who are typical peers who are excelling academically at their own grade level pace. So I know that principals and teachers work really hard together to try to balance out those challenges that exist in elementary school classrooms. I think also that we have a population shift in our city that is putting pressure on some of our elementary schools in particular. And one of the things that I would propose to the school committee is that we take a look at redistricting our city. Every 10 years, we undergo a federal census. And the federal census is an analysis of our demographics in our city and where our population increases and declines are. And I think if we use that model and lay it over our school district and see if we can make adjustments to the way that our school neighborhoods are structured, we might be able to alleviate some of the pressure of large class sizes in the elementary schools in particular.
So Linda mentioned redistricting. Would that be anything that you would consider?
I mean, once again, I would certainly defer to the superintendent, the assistant superintendent. I think that they have to look at every option, and whether it means redistricting, we certainly would have to look at that. But I think that is a question that is best left to those experts in the administration to wrestle with and give the school department recommendations for.
Okay. Linda, any final comments?
No,
or are you all set?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Great. All right. So our next question, Linda, it's going to start off with you. Mm-hmm. Schools have increasingly become more bureaucratic, and decision-making surrounding curriculum, what we teach, and how we teach has become more top-down. It's both a state, it's a national trend as well. What do you see as ways to have more involvement of students and teachers in the process of creating great schools? Well,
this concept of students and teachers being involved in creating great schools is certainly an important one. Of course, the people that you're serving, your students and your teachers, should be fully engaged in creating great schools. Unfortunately, what we are finding, both at the state level and the national level, is that teachers are restricted, often in their creativity and their flexibility in the way that they can deliver academics to their students, because they're so forced to teach to the test, and then what gets tested gets taught. The ability to be creative in the way that they deliver their academic programs is really limited. I think if we provide greater time for collaboration among colleagues in the district so that they can develop unique programs for for like an English department, let the English teachers come together and create a unique unit that might be interesting to students, that supports that need to teach to the test. I think that there's opportunities for professional learning communities among teachers, and those are things that I hope that we can begin to encourage amongst our teaching staff.
Dan?
Okay, thank you very much. And there is a lot of bureaucracy, and we know that, and we feel that every single day. But we have to adhere to the Common Core. That's just the way it is. We are in competition, not just with other communities, but we're in competition with other states for federal dollars. So as a result, and I think Massachusetts does a pretty terrific job, we have to adhere to the Common Core, and we have to do the best we possibly can. So that Common Core measurement has to be strong so that the federal dollars are there. And I know that they've raised the rigor of competitiveness, but teachers, I think, collaborate very well together, and they talk about best practices. And I would love to see more of that. I think teachers tend to be collaborative by nature. And if they can talk about best practices in instruction, whether it's in algebra or creative writing, and share that, that's going to be incredibly meaningful. And I know the teachers are struggling with the current curriculum mapping process that they're being asked to do. But I also feel that once they get over that painful exercise, that they're going to be able to, once they get rid of that encumbrance, I know that teachers will be encouraged to share their feelings about curriculum mapping with what I believe to be a very sensitive administration. Now, I think you have two guys at the top, Joe Curtis and Dr. McCandless, who do a really good job of listening. And I think if they rectify or they give feedback to those two people about that process and about best practices, I have every confidence that we will be looking rather than at bureaucratic mapping requests or bureaucratic record keeping. We're really going to be at some point very near in the future focusing on best practices in the classroom.
So, Linda, your response, and I'd like you to also kind of weave this in. As a teacher here, teach 4 or 5 classes, you have an advisory period, you have 1 period of preparation, and then you have your 100 kids you grade and you plan for the following day. When is that collaboration going to come? And after Linda's comments, Dan, I'd like you to also consider that in your 30, 45-second response.
Well, I appreciate that question, and I think one of the unfortunate things about these testing requirements that teachers have to endure is that these tests were never meant to be an evaluation of teachers, and so there's this thing that's over on top of teachers that if their students don't excel on the tests, then it appears to be an assessment or an evaluation of the teacher, and there's a lot of pressure on teachers to just stay focused on the test. There are professional development opportunity days built into the teacher's school year, and I think that if we give teachers professional development that's geared to the things that they want to, that they see for themselves as being important, that we can, provide those opportunities right within our own district, and also giving teachers opportunities to be presenters or opportunities to receive professional development in other areas. So I think there are ways for collaboration to occur during those existing professional development days.
Yeah. Well, once again, we do provide about 10 professional development days throughout the year. Best practices are discussed, but and I know that there's incredible constraints on teachers, and now there's after-school activities. We're putting pressure for 21st century grant programming after school, so it is a real challenge. And I, am not naive to think that it would be a difficult stretch to have that kind of collaboration, but I would encourage the administration to find time, to structure time, so that teachers, English teachers, math teachers, science teachers, can find and share those collaborative ways. But also, there are so many programs available now on the internet that provide best practices. We'd certainly have to look to department heads to share that with our teachers. But it's a challenge.
Okay, we're going to get something that's becoming more of a statewide discussion now, and also certainly a national one. Dan, this starts off with you.
Sure.
What's your position on charter schools? Will you support or oppose efforts to expand charter schools in Pittsfield and Greater Berkshire County? This is a big thing in Mass now.
It is a big thing in Mass, and I know the governor's hot on this. I was asked to write a letter of support, I think it was a year or two ago, for charter schools, and the answer was absolutely no. We have, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I don't think that we have enough funding right now through Chapter 70 to do the job that's needed to be done. And I'm seeing a drain of students and teachers to charter schools, and in an area like Berkshire County with 130,000 people, but only about 25 to 28, and the numbers are a little fuzzy, 25,000 students, we can't afford to support more additional charter schools. We have to put our concentration in strong public school education. So the quick answer is no, I would not be supporting the expansion of that, and I have told the governor this.
Linda.
Thank you. No, I will not support the expansion of charter schools. And I have long believed that the program of school choice, which is a state-mandated program that's eligible for all communities in the Commonwealth, is also bad public policy. I have long believed that it's detrimental to public schools, especially urban public schools, when school choice, parents who know how to advocate for their kids will remove their students from our schools. And I'm not so concerned about the $5,000 that they take with them. While that does have an impact on our ability to provide good programming here in our home district, the bigger problem is that it erodes the diversity of our school community. We lose some of our best academic stars, and those academic students can be great mentors for kids who are struggling academically. We also lose those parents. When a student choices out, that whole entire family goes with that student, and it erodes our ability to have a diverse school community. It puts further pressure on the challenges of providing an urban education in our community. So I believe that we need to take control of our own destiny and not be a victim of charter schools. And let's create some unique programs within our own school, be it the International Baccalaureate Program or taking advantage of the Commonwealth's Innovative School initiatives, so that our school is unique and not under threat of a charter.
Dan, follow-up?
Well, I don't think we are under any threat of a charter at all. And as far as the opting out, that unfortunately is something that I don't believe that the state legislature has at all the appetite to really wrestle with. And, so we have to live with that reality. But that's why I'm so adamant about having a top-notch vocational program at a new comprehensive high school. I think we are making strategic investments. Now, we're losing $2 million for people who are opting out, whether it's charter schools, Lennox, or any other school system. But we can do enough with strategic investments in top-flight educational programs to counter that. And I have every confidence that we're going to be expanding our AP programs well beyond the Mass, the grant that's now in place with the Mass Insights Institute, so that we are going to be an attractive place. People from other communities and those people who are currently sending their kids out of town are going to see the value of the AP offerings and are going to see just what those kids can get here in the city of Pittsfield that they can't get in Lennox, that they can't get in Lee or up in North County. This is going to be a very powerful thing, and we're going to expand that program and really help to open the eyes of those people who are choicing out.
Further comments, Linda?
Well, I agree that the mere opposition to charter schools is not enough. We have to have high-quality alternatives to Commonwealth charter schools. So right under the auspices of our Pittsfield Public Schools. And while the new Taconic vocational program is going to be an important driver around that, we also need to make the academic programs unique and rigorous enough so that kids who aren't going to enter into a vocational educational program can find a highly rigorous academic opportunity here in our city.
Okay, the next question, Linda, we're going to start with you, and this gets sort of to that vocational and academic piece that I think you're both really hitting on. So we talked elementary, a little bit on class size. Academic vocational opportunities for middle and high students. What do you think we need to provide for the range of students at those levels for those academic and vocational opportunities? Now, we mentioned high, like can you kind of get middle as well in there if you can? Linda, we'll start with you.
Well, again, I think that, we've covered this a little bit already, and I guess I'll expand a little bit on the International Baccalaureate program, which is really a unique program that has an emphasis on broad themes and inquiry and writing and world cultures, and it would be a complement to our existing AP programs. And this would be, I would recommend that we explore the opportunity of a pilot program in this International Baccalaureate program that is supported by the Commonwealth for 11th and 12th graders, and maybe for one pilot program at our middle school level. And this would be such a unique academic program that parents would want to be engaged in it. It has more flexibility for students, more flexibility for teachers, and it's really designed to create a pipeline for higher education at some of our more outstanding colleges, including Ivy League colleges. So I think if we take a risk and take a bold step in this direction, we could really make our schools unique.
Yeah.
Well, I think our schools are unique, and they're unique for a variety of reasons. When I first became mayor, I helped support the application for the 21st Century Grant programs in our middle schools, and that has been tremendously successful. We are awakening young minds to the possibility of being involved in math and engineering and science, but also the arts as well. And I've attended many of their programs and their graduations, and it is just tremendous to see these youngsters in the middle school dealing with horticultural programs, which teach them earth science, but also teaches them mathematics. They're involved with mechanical competitions. They're involved with robotics. I was talking to one teacher at Reed, and she was telling me that one of the students that had just gotten finished talking to me about the robotics program, and he went on and on and on. She said when he was entered into that program, he never talked to anybody. He's come out of his shell, and we're doing that now. We've expanded that program, the 21st Century Grant program, into our elementary schools. So we're opening up their minds to mathematics, engineering, sciences, but also the arts, because there's a great opportunity for the arts in our community, for the arts in their life, but there's a great correlation between the innovative sciences and innovation in manufacturing and the arts as well. So I think we're doing a tremendous job there. We're expanding the Insights program. We're expanding the AP programs, but that's for high school, and you did ask for the lower grades. So I think that the best thing that we can do is to continue to advocate for those 21st Century Grant programs that are federally funded, and we've had the help of our federal delegation to get that, and that is really going to trigger an awakening for those kids, so that when they go to a Taconic High School and when they get there, they're going to see the correlation between what they've done in the past and those vocational programs, and they're going to see that those programs are correlated with college programs, either at Berkshire Community College or other places. And I think that is really the best thing we can do to stimulate and encourage these kids at that level, but also to open the possibilities to families, especially many of our lower income families who see a path to the middle class as an impossibility, but it's not.
Linda?
I guess the added opportunities within our district now is to increase the emphasis on dual enrollment. We have some students who may be really excelling in the 11th grade and 12th grade who need to be challenged more academically, and giving them an opportunity to attend Berkshire Community College or MCLA as part of their high school academic program would give them a chance to explore outside of their own school community various learning opportunities that are available at our local colleges. colleges. In addition to that, I think that we should encourage kids to participate in distance learning or online learning as part of their academic program, and maybe make it part of an extra credit programming so that they can expose themselves to these vast opportunities that are available to them online.
Anything further, Dan, on that, or are you all set?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, many of our students are already doing that, and we're encouraging them. I know my daughter took 2 courses at Berkshire Community College, so she had 6 credits before she even left high school. And with the integrated curriculum and between Taconic High School and Berkshire Community College, and we're working with Bill Mulholland to develop those curriculums, you are going to see more kids taking more classes out at Berkshire Community College than they are now, and they already are. As far as one of the tools that we are looking at for the new Taconic High School is to be able to share classrooms with BCC, with MCLA, so there will be distance learning in that regard, but distance learning of a familiar nature. So there's great things that we can do, and we're already doing a lot of them.
So clearly this is a serious mayor's race. It's a 4-year term, first time in our city's history. The next mayor is going to play, likely, a key role in prioritizing the next phase of school building renovations. Some schools have been renovated, some schools haven't. We know that. How would you address the facilities that have needs?
Well, once again, one of the reasons why I was so adamant when I ran in previous mayoral races about those schools, I think it was unconscionable that we would have left off Crosby, Conti, and the Morningside School in the neediest areas, the neediest families, and we almost just disregarded it. Now, my vote was for those schools, not against Taconic. And we have to design a program, and now when debt service is dropping off for some of the schools that we've already renovated, we have to have a plan. We have to, and we lost a tremendous opportunity because state laws changed so that we could not have multiple schools in the mix. But once we get the high school underway and the high school completed, and even before that, we have got to have a plan to evaluate those schools, spend dollars now to help improve them, and improve them academically as well as physically. But as we retire the debt on those other schools, we have to have a plan in place. We've got to be back before the Mass School Building Needs Commission, and I've developed a tremendous relationship with them. I know the protocol, and I know how to get that done. So that's exactly what we have to do. But we have to do it in a framework that's affordable for the taxpayer.
Linda?
Well, thank you, Brendan. The vote on the Taconic High School, the first opportunity to vote for it was 10 years ago. And at that time, we could only submit a proposal for one school. And Mayor Bianchi is saying that he voted against it because he believed that we should include Conti, Crosby, and Morningside, but we knew then that we couldn't include more than one school. And so, I would ask that, if those are the 3 priorities, what are we doing now to address the needs of those schools? Why haven't we begun to prepare a statement of interest for Crosby or Conti or Morningside and submitted those to the School Building Needs Authority? Let's keep going.
Dan, follow-up?
Sure. We submitted a statement of interest on Crosby, Conti, and Morningside in December of 2011, and it's on record. So we've done that. Good job. But the fact of the matter is we lost a great opportunity because we could have done them. There were multiple schools, elementary schools, that were completed and that were involved. Yeah, the statement, and this is, I'm glad you brought this up, the statement of interest on Taconic was done 10 years ago, and we haven't put a shovel in the ground. Who is dragging their feet? It's unbelievable that we've gone this far. When I was first elected mayor, the state treasurer, Steve Grossman, came to my office and he said, "Mayor, other people have put in statements of interest after you. People have designed a school, have built a school, and you haven't gotten past square one." That's why it was so important for me to stimulate the design, approval, and completion at Taconic, and that's exactly what I plan to do.
Follow-up?
I think that persistence and perseverance paid off. We that process was driven by countless thousands of hours of volunteer time on the School Building Needs Committee and the members who were devoted to seeing this project through to completion. It was also driven by the persistence of Councilor Musso, who was the chair of the School Building Needs Commission. She stayed with it. And also by State Representative Farley Bouvier, who kept the lines of communication open between our city and the state. It was their persistence and their perseverance that is why we have a new Taconic High School.
But we didn't have a mayor driving the bus.
So we have two more questions in our debate, and I want to invite up one of our seniors here from the AP Government class. They developed a question they'd like to ask the candidates. Linda, you'll have the first shot at this question. So Louis Higuera here from the senior class is going to offer us a question.
Hey, Louis, how are you?
A member of the School Building Needs Commission, right?
Yeah, I was a member for a short while, so
What? You've already dropped out?
Yeah, I was a little too busy. But,
Oh, jeepers.
yeah, so we were wondering, how will you make sure Taconic and Pittsfield High both have equal educational opportunities after the new Taconic is built?
Thanks, Louis.
Okay. Who goes?
Linda starts off with that
Okay.
one.
Well, this is certainly, an area it will be important for the mayor who is in this office at the time to work in collaboration with the school superintendent and the staff at Pittsfield High School to make sure that we are advancing their programs for academic success here at Pittsfield High School. And it's an interesting dynamic in my mind because we have Taconic as our vocational technical program. That's where our vocational kids will go, and Pittsfield High School has a different focus on more rigorous academics. So I think, again, we can go back to how do we make Pittsfield High School as competitive as our new Taconic Vocational High School. That's going to be geared towards a vocational program. So here at Pittsfield High School, let's implement a bold new step in one of these programs that are already existing in Boston and Brockton and Springfield. I think it's important for us to take a bold move here at Pittsfield High School in terms of an academic program that will make Pittsfield High School just as unique as Taconic.
Well, I would argue Pittsfield High School is just as unique, and I wouldn't suggest that their academics are more rigorous here at Pittsfield High School than at Taconic. Taconic sends kids to the Ivy League. They send kids to the military academies. They have a very rigorous academic over there. But specifically, we still have to address the renovation issues. And this is a great old building. Interestingly enough, the Mass School Building Needs Commission, while they were not funding the renovation of schools that were 35, 40, 50 years old, they were investing in schools that were 90, 100 years old because they were architecturally significant. So that's going to be a challenge down the road. We certainly have to repair and renovate this. That's why I committed dollars to doing things like getting rid of that dangerous and ugly gym floor. That's why I committed capital dollars to improving the performance center and the auditorium. And we're going to continue to do those things because it is a unique school and it does have great academics, as does Taconic. So I really feel that we have two unique schools. The AP offerings here are great. The AP offerings, they're almost in competition with each other. And when we had Mr. Bishop, the principal of PHS, and we had Mr. Vosberg, the principal of Taconic here, they are almost vying for position as far as their AP excellence. So we've got vigorous competition, but we also have vigorous and wonderful, wonderful results from the kids that graduate from both schools. So I think that the teachers are the ones who truly provide that great balance and that great opportunity at both schools.
I'm fine.
You're all set with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So we're sort of at the end of our questions here, and we're going to offer each candidate a closing statement, and we have a question for them to sort of focus on for the closing statement that we provided them. As we said before, it's a 4-year term. If you're elected as mayor, what will you specifically like to achieve for our schools by the end of your 4 years? Linda, we started with you. Why don't we end the round starting with you also?
Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that. I think when I take the oath of office and begin serving as your next mayor, and that also includes being a member of the school committee, there are 4 things that I think I will keep in the foremost of my mind. And the first will be, how do we make safe schools and create a safer community? That's got to be a priority, and it requires an effort and a commitment on a daily basis to ensure that our schools are safe and our community is safe. So I'll be looking at everything that we do, think, say, and do will be driven towards that. I think it's also important that we provide opportunities for improved student learning at all of our schools. So every decision that you make as a school committee member and a mayor is, are we meeting that goal? And also greater professional satisfaction for our teachers. How do we provide opportunities for our teachers to feel professionally satisfied in the work that they do? It is so challenging to be a teacher these days. There are so many social issues that confront teachers every day when the students walk through the front door of a school. Teachers got into the profession to educate, and we need to provide wraparound services so that they don't have to provide drug intervention programs and mental health services. It's important for them to know their students and to be able to get their students the right type of help services that they need in this wraparound environment. Now, I think that my belief in the great potential of our city has been stated many times throughout this campaign season. And as we move forward, I will follow the principles that have been laid out in our master plan. We'll be a vibrant, compassionate place to live and go to school and to work. We will be a place of innovation and the heart of the Berkshire art and culture scene. You know, we really have a great opportunity here in the Berkshires to tap into a creative economy. We have already a built-in environment of art and culture and music, and we can create academic programs and extracurricular activities for students to excel in those areas. And I also believe that we need to be economically and environmentally sustainable community. What are we doing in our school buildings to ensure that we are environmentally efficient, that we're addressing the cost of utilities in ways that releases all those fixed costs for utilities and moves those resources to make available for academic programs. I really think that there's a lot of work to do. We have a lot of obstacles, and within those obstacles and those challenges is our great potential. And I'm going to approach every one of these issues with an attitude of how can we, because I believe so much in the great potential of our city. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. Dan?
Thanks, Brendan. The next few years are going to be critical years, not just for our school system, but for the city in general, and I see a great potential there. I pushed and fought to get this Taconic High School built, and I think that is going to be an incremental part of a dynamic educational system. But I'm not, disregarding Pittsfield High School at all, but with a great vocational programming, 21st century vocational programming, with a correlation with academics and with curriculum at Berkshire Community College, we are going to have a terrific opportunity for our students. But another thing that we have to do, it's great to educate our children, but we have to give them opportunities. And that's why the Berkshire Innovation Center, I think, makes so much sense. We now have the Nanotechnology Center in Albany as a member, RPI, the 2 UMass campuses, Lowell and Amherst, 2 of the leading polymer science research centers in the country. We are putting together a unique opportunity for small and innovative and medium-sized innovative companies to grow. And when they do, they're going to be hiring kids from the Taconic High School who have gone on to BCC. But I think between that and our AP academics, we are going to be encouraging and putting together in place, and we're working on it now, plans to encourage that kid that would never think to take an AP course from a family who has no realization that college could be an opportunity. But if we do this right, if we expand our AP offerings and get those kids kids that today wouldn't think to take that course, but we can get them involved in AP programming that is going to help them and give them the confidence to go on to college. We're going to be doing something terrific. And when we complement that with a vocational education second to none, nowadays 73% of all vocational students in outstanding programs go on to college, and these kids will. I'm not going to be educating kids and spending wise investments so that we can put them in a big box store, but rather so that we can make scientists, engineers, chemists, physicists out of them, and they will be working in what I think is going to be a dynamic new economy here for the city of Pittsfield.
Great. On behalf of the UEP and also our students, Lewis, who developed the questions, we thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
People watching at home and also you here, please make sure you vote in November. And if you're here and you have a rubric and you'd like to turn it in, we'd like to know what you think about the candidates. So thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.